Alright, and hello everybody, I'm the Super27, and welcome to another Dokkan Battle video. So it is 2:34 a.m. This news just dropped in game, and the banners are now live. So officially, global players can summon for TEQ MUI Goku. Now looking at some of these featured units on his banner, there are some interesting picks. Now I did call this. I guess we can pull this up on Twitter real quick. Let's see. So if we go over here to my page, I replied to one of Truth's posts saying that he thought that this would be the banner. However, I retorted and I said, wouldn't Rose be the returning unit though, and also the Go Bros, SSBE, and MUI are on Beast's banner. So it would be a little bit odd if they were on the global banner, if they were on two separate banners at the same time. Now that would probably be good for global players, because if you were summoning and you didn't get SSBE or MUI and you really wanted them, you would have had another opportunity to get them. But the overall power level of this banner, I'm gonna say, is not too good. I'm gonna say it's not too good. So if we're looking at this, obviously we have TEQ UI himself, who is phenomenal. He's great. He's amazing. I don't have any problems with him. Dyspo, he's a fine enough Cyberner unit. From what I understand, he is like a defensive and... No, he's like an attack and crit stacker with dodge? Is that how you work? So he gets defense for 1 turn and raises attack for 11 turns. So that's basically an attack stack. Let's see here. He gets an additional 11% attack within the same turn and chance to crit plus 11%. So 10 attacks, he's fully built up. Okay. Let's see. Launches an additional, has a great chance of being a super. Launches an additional, has a great chance of being a super when there's another Universe 11 category ally attacking within the same turn, or when all allies are tournament participants. 50% chance to dodge. So he's a 50% chance to dodge character. Can he tank? 150 here, 150 on super. Gets an extra... After performing a super attack, he gets a 150% defense before the character receives an attack. That's actually a pretty good ability. He's pretty tanky for his first hit then. And then after that, you're kind of hoping on... But 50%, man, that's kind of yikers, in my opinion. So yeah, Dyspo, he seems fine enough. He's not great, but he's not bad. But some of the other units on this banner are really bad. Like this guy was fun. He was fun for a time when he EZA'd. And I was kind of thinking that he could potentially be like a new meta for EZAs, having like glass cannons. But it looks like it didn't go that way, and at this point, he can't really be used, I would argue. Like, this is probably still one of the more damaging attacks in the game. It has ultimate damage. He gets 30% attack to all allies for the turn. He is obviously a great attack stacker. But if we're looking here, he only has 159, which is low. He only has guard for first couple of turns, and then he has the chance to launch supers for first couple of turns. He does get stats when he gets hit. But frankly, I think that this guy, like, he showed up too soon. If he showed up this year as opposed to last year, I feel like he would have had way more defense at the start of turn or something. Or potentially he could have even gotten more offense to kind of feed more so into the glass cannonness of the character. But I feel like he's not going to be doing enough damage on a Universe 7 team. Because Universe 7, if we're really looking at it, this guy has no home in that team. Because right now you would be running... I know these guys aren't in the game yet, but you're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 6. I mean, I would run these guys. No, I wouldn't. I would actually run this guy over them, probably, because they're both not strong enough. Oh, I mean, and then we're also going to get the sub EZAs, so like this guy's better than them by sure, for sure. So I don't know. I mean, it's nice that you're returning just in case people haven't gotten you yet, and you haven't returned in a long time. I don't think it's definitely been a while since you've shown back up. Go Bros, I don't know what they're doing here. They're literally on Beast's banner. No idea what they're doing at all. Jiren, I mean, he's just trash. I guess it's nice that he's coming back, because this is, what, a 2018 unit, 2017 if you are a JP player. But he just has a very unimpressive EZA. Maybe the reason he is returning would be specifically for the Universe 11 mission, just in case people don't have him. That would be another option that you'd be able to run. He would have type advantage in the dodge nullifying phase, which gives him more versatility or usage than a character like Margarita or what other Universe 11 characters are there? Not a lot. But if we're looking at that Universe 11 mission, 1, 2, Topo, whenever he shows up, 3, 4, 5. I mean, there's also going to be, AGL Jiren will probably show up during the celebration, so you have more options. I feel like you don't need to run this guy if you don't have to, but I guess just giving more options for that really tough mission, we're really not going to complain about that. But now we have the Buu Saga EZAs. Now, both of these are very comparable, obviously. Buu Han is probably much better than Vegito, just as a whole. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I feel like people greatly overrate his tanking capability. Like, yes, he does have 200 to stats at the start of turn, and yes, he is guaranteed guarding for his first turn, and he will have guaranteed guard as long as you're below 90% HP at the start of turn, which can actually be a little bit tricky on the Buu team just because so many of them heal, and so many of them have healing links. So you can actually potentially heal too much, and then this unit will be able to fraud you. He's also a defensive stacker, so later into fights, you are able to take more advantage of that, and if you are in a fight where you can kind of greed out stacks in his base form, obviously he would look much, much better once he's transformed. He does also have some dodge in here, intermingled with the rest of his capabilities, which is nice to have. He's also pretty reliant when it comes to ki. And then transformed, he really is like actually a very phenomenal unit. I would argue, you know, he has like really good HP recovery at the start of turn. He gets a guaranteed additional first couple of turns, 250 stats, guaranteed guard. He has the dodge, and then he gets like the build-up dodge capability. I don't know where it is in its passive. He's very good. He's also one of these characters who can keep people stunned and sealed blocked. If we're like in the Cell Max event, he is probably one of the better characters for that, which is funny because he's going in tight disadvantage, but he does have the guard, so he would definitely get clapped up at the start of the fight, but once you're able to build up a little bit, you are able to lock down one of the harder fights in the game, and that is something that should be noted, and like that is good. Now Vegito. Vegito's a unit I'm a little bit higher on than probably the rest of the community, but I do still admit that the base form has flaws that are kind of stupid, because he can be really good at the start of turn, and then he can lose all of his abilities halfway through. So if we're looking at it, if you're not above 77% HP at the start of turn, you're going to be missing out on 50% attack and defense and a guaranteed additional super. And then if in the middle of the turn you drop below 50%, you're going to be losing 20% crit and 20% damage reduction, meaning he's just a 30% damage reduction character. I've been on the record saying this multiple times, that is not enough. Even with 200% defense, like that's just not enough. He does stack, which is nice. Maybe if he stacked offense, he would be a little bit more favorable for the rest of the community, because his counters and his transform form would be way, way better. But this can also be a little bit tricky sometimes to get. Sometimes. If you're a rainbowed character, most of the time if you're losing, it's because you're just getting one shot. But if you're like a weaker player, it's much easier to get this HP threshold just dropping below that naturally. And once you transform, like, while this guy isn't like a god of the game by any means, he is very comparable. You know, he has his guard first couple of turns. He has his high chance to crit. He also has a 250% to stat at the start of turn. He has the 10-turn scouter, which I think is like the longest conditional scouter in the game that can fade away, but 10 turns. Most of the time, you won't run out of that by the end of the fight unless you're in like the Red Zone movie boss rush or something along those lines. He does have counters. And he has extra damage reduction when you put him in front of normals. So obviously, you know, this is a character who he's not designed to tank supers, but like you don't ever have to put him in front of a super unless he were like locked or something along those lines. So obviously he is very powerful. It is also nice seeing that we did just get a Majin Buu Saga celebration. So just in case you didn't have these guys, or if your Majin Buu Saga team was feeling a little bit weaker, getting some dupes in them can help. But the problem is we're moving into content where it's like you need to do damage thresholds. And neither one of these characters are going to be able to cross a damage threshold. Maybe this guy after he gets up all of his crit, but I can just see this guy punching Goku and Frieza over and over and over and over and over again, and you're just going to see a bunch of zeros, and that would be really depressing because you can't seal them, you can't really do anything to them. So yes, he gets an attack break, so I guess you can do that, but he's not going to be able to do damage to them. I don't really think that this guy would be able to. I mean, he would have that good type advantage up against the 17 and Golden Frieza stage, which is quite difficult since you're not able to dodge, but I don't know if he's really going to be good enough for an event like that. And then we have the two prior Tanabata LRs. Now, this is one of my favorite units ever, and I will defend this unit pretty much to the day that I die. I really do think that they were extremely underrated on release. I do. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, Cooler is better, or Birdcoo is better. They just didn't want to admit that, like, a Trunks and Vegeta unit, because this moment, it was pretty hype, but, like, it really, like, not that memorable. Like, it's obviously trying to, like, harken on, like, the hype of, like, the Father-Son Kamehameha against Cell, and I feel like it just kind of missed the mark a little bit. But this unit really was that guy back in the day. Now, emphasis on back in the day. I don't know why they're here. They don't offer anything. They're not on Future Saga anymore. Like, yes, you could run them on Future Saga, and this is a stacking unit. Obviously, they do raise attack and defense right here on their 18 key. So if you're in one of these longer fights, yeah, you can put them into slot 1. These guys can probably lock down slot 1, at least for a while. But one of the most damning pieces of footage I've ever seen of this character is, I believe it was Truth, was doing a showcase in the Red Zone movie Boss Rush, slot 1, with like over 900, maybe even over 1,000,000 defense, with their guard, with their extra defense that procs once they collect their orbs or whatever, and you go into the attacking turn. They got one-shot by the Red Zone movie Boss Rush Broly, and they took like a lot of damage. Like, they weren't even close to surviving it. And at that point, it's like, alright, they could do one thing back in the day, which was lock down slot 1. They could go into multiple different slots for the first couple of turns, but if we're looking at it right here, for the first couple of turns, they get 2 key, 70% defense, and they guard for 5 turns. Then they only guard in slot 1. Right here. So they basically get the same buff. They also get offense. So for the first couple of turns, these stack. But later on, they have to go into slot 1. Because without their guard, they can't really go anywhere. And yeah, like, this was one of the units who, like, could actually get away with just having guard as a defensive mechanic, just because they did have their stack. They would launch just a bunch of additionals, so they could quickly, like, their start of turn could be like 700k, but after launching several additionals, they could be over 1,000,000 with guard, and then they would be able to survive. We're now having bosses who launch 1,000,000 normals. Don't even get me started on super attack effects, what they're able to do, and not including, like, debuffs or everything. Like, I don't know, they're just not that guy anymore. Now, if you were like a brand new player and you got this guy at 55%, this is a unit who would be able to get you pretty much from day 1 all the way up to Red Zone from 2022. Like, genuinely, this character alone and a bunch of free-to-play characters could carry you all the way there. I'm very sincere about that. I mean, you could maybe even run a friend VB if you were running Future Saga, for example. But they're really not doing that much. So if we're looking here, 140 at the start of turn is low. Even with, like, this in mind, like, that's low by today's standards. Again, anything less than, like, 200, I think is low. 2 key, I mean, they're not the most key-hungry character. They do give themselves their own key. I think they have, like, decent key links as well. Yeah, Dismal Future is a pretty good one. Prepared for Battle is a decent one. Yeah. And then by getting hit, they would build up. And they would have to get hit, what is it, 5? Yeah, getting hit 5 times, they'd be fully built up. So, fully built up, they would have their, 70 here. So that's 210. And then on top of that, 285% defense. Plus, they would be stacking, but they only stack on their 18 key. They do not stack on the 12 key. The 12 key is also a melee, so up against, like, Kid Buu, these guys are a fish. They're also locked into slot 1, and they can no longer handle slot 1. I mean, yeah, they also have, like, the nice crit. I don't want to underrate that. But, like, forward time, these guys were the god. Again, if you guys ever want me to make a video going over my top 50 summonable units in Global Dokkan that I made at the start of this year, I would love to make a community reaction to that. Or if you haven't seen that video and you kind of want to blast from the past to see how I thought about the game right before the 9th anniversary, like, meta changes hit us, please go check that video out. It's one of the most popular videos on this channel for good reason, and I would love to see it do a community deep dive on that, because I got some funny comments on that one. But one of the most controversial takes that I had is that I put these guys almost at top 10 at the time. And I really do think that, like, up until this year, these guys could be argued that they were that good, that they were able to handle the most devastating slot, which is slot 1. They were comparable up against Fusion's Masu and other such boss fights. But pretty much as soon as we got the difficult content of this year, these guys just were washed. And then speaking of being washed, I know why he's here. I know why he's here, because it was the Tanabata celebration. It makes sense. I have never fallen out of love faster than with this character. I defended this character. I did. I was a coper for him. I was. And then I don't know what it was. There was just one morning, I guess, I woke up and I really did realize this guy fucking sucks. And it actually kind of pisses me off. I think I was just so in love with it because it was a Super Saiyan 4 unit. His animations were beautiful. His OSTs were beautiful. I loved the idea that with, like, going into Oob and then into the full power. He's a very fun unit, and he was designed with the Omega Shenron fight in mind. So he destroyed one event. That's kind of like the mentality I have with TEQ MUI, and why I think you might actually be able to skip summon him, because I'm wondering if all this difficult content, which has the ability to get rid of dodging, is this guy only meant for this content, and then we're not going to see dodge nullifying for a long time? Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking history may repeat itself, because we look at his domain. His domain's on his other page. What am I doing? If we look at his domain, right here, allies can nullify attacks guaranteed to hit. making it possibly hit. Now, this means that the enemy can dodge as well if you have, like, the Int Yamcha ability up as well. But everyone is able to nullify the dodge nullification. Right now, the 2 hardest fights on the game are dodge nullifying fights. But what? Are we going to go into the Worldwide Download Celebration? Is this going to be something that's common on a lot of fights? Because if it's common on a lot of fights, we need that ability in a lot of other units. That is a toxic, stupid ability. That is way worse than AoEs, in my opinion. It is way worse than AoEs. It is way worse than blocking. It is way worse than sealing. Because you want to know what all of those things do? You get unlucky if you get a bad AoE turn. Or if you have a weak character who can't tank, guess what? They're not good in that fight. But you know what dodging does? It fundamentally gets rid of like a third of the game. Now, I think it's fine, okay? I think it's fine like for like Red Zone Broly. Or if it's in just a single phase. I think you can make it work. Like right now on Global in the Supreme Magnificent Spectacle, the Super Saiyan Kaioken, what is it? It's Blue Kaioken Goku from the Universe 6 tournament. I think that's a fine fight, because he doesn't hit stupidly hard. He doesn't have really any other gimmicks. His whole gimmick is that he does nullify dodge, and I think that's fine. If that's your only gimmick in a fight, that's fine. Now, if we're going to look at like the Golden Frieza 17 event, I think that's fucking stupid, because you have the Stage 1 where you're dealing damage at the start of turn. Stage 2, you have the locking. Stage 3, you have that, and then Stage 4, you have one of the hardest hitting bosses in the game who you have to 1 or 2 turn. And he has a damage threshold where that makes it pretty difficult to do so. That is just a very poorly, toxically designed fight. I feel like, in my opinion at the very least, the toxicity of that fight is what people thought the Fusion Zamasu Red Zone was last year. Because realistically, like, yeah, that was just like opening turn simulator, but at least if you lost, and you could dive right back on it. It would take maybe 2 minutes for you to realize you were dead. You could lose, like, that could be a 19-minute run, just gone in an instant because you're not able to dodge. And it's like, well, yeah, then just don't bring dodging characters into there. Well, no character can survive that super. Beast Gohan, definitively the best character in this game, cannot tank that super if his passive is not up and if he does not have his active skill. 5.4 million on turn, 12? Beast Gohan most likely is not going to have access to his active skill. So you have to dodge it, but the stage beforehand means that you can't dodge it. Therefore, unless you have this guy in your team, you're not going to have fun. And I just think that is a poorly, poorly designed fight, and I'm hoping that this guy will have a much better fate than you. Because you were so fun for a time, and they squandered it. They squandered it. Like, I understand not being good in every event. I think that's fine. I think it's fun having different units who thrive in different events. You thrived for one event for like 1 month, and then we got Fusion Zamasu, we got all these other fights, and you were just dog water. And going into this year, the content isn't designed for you because you're another unit who has to go into slot 1. Right here. 70% defense and an extra 20% damage reduction in slot 1. Without that, you're a fish, because let's look at it right here. 150% defense. That is stupidly low. Again, stupidly low. 70% defense for 3 turns after he gets hit. Okay, that's cool. So that's why you're able to tank a little bit better the first time he gets hit. But what do? Slot 1, first attack in the turn is a super. This kid's dead. And he has to get hit 5 times. So what do you do if you have to put him in slot 1 and there's only ever 3 attacks? And then you're just screwed, and then you can't go into Oop reliably, you can't float this character reliably. I don't know, he's just... I have fallen out of love in this character, and I do empathize for everyone who summons tonight and they get like 12 dupes of him. I do feel for that. Goku Black is a good pickup though. I will say this, Goku Black, after his buff on Global, he's actually a good character now. I remember we clowned on him, I clowned on him too at the time. This is stupid. I will still stay by this. He can really only be run on one team. I will stay, I stick with that. But ever since he was given this, he's a lot better. And I wish he just came out with this. Like, I understand probably what happened is Amatsu saw how displeased the global players were, or maybe Goku Black just wasn't ready yet, and they didn't have all the coding ready, but it's 2 sentences, man. There's no way 2 sentences was enough code that it had to be delayed. I'm assuming he just thought that this kit would be good enough, and when it wasn't, he was like, alright, we have to buff this character. And then he did, so, like, you know, obviously, again, that's an Amatsu W. But God, it did really piss me off. When I got the news of this and that this kid was getting a side branding, oh, brother, you should have seen me on the Twitter timeline right then. I was pissed. But I would definitely say that this is the second best Super Bosses leader, and global players probably don't have him. I know it's kind of weird saying that this guy is probably the worst Super Bosses leader and that a Yellow Coin LR is probably the best, But I really do think that, because you obviously want to have 2 cell maxes just because he's definitively the best character. I think running 2 of this guy is better as well, because multiple characters on the team are Big Bad Boss's units. You're able to use this domain 1 turn sooner, and it's 1 turn shorter. If we're looking at this, your domain only lasts for 4 turns, where if we go over here and look at Broly's domain, no, your domain's also for 4 turns. Oh, I thought you had a 5-turn domain. Psych, never mind, I take that back. But, although you are more reliant, I would argue, on your domain, because this base form, it can be comparable. Obviously, when you are transformed, that's when you're going to be doing way more damage. He's going to be way tankier. Like, this is obviously the much superior form, but the second the domain goes away, you revert back to this base form. But this base form does way more for the team than this base form, because this base form just does damage, and that's about it. He can't tank normals. I mean, he can, but, like, not well. Like, even post-super, he really can't take some of the biggest normals super well. You're going to get tagged by a super, this kid is going to be dead. But transformed, he does do very well. His domain does debuff superclass allies, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think yours does that, but again, you want to be run on super bosses anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Creates a domain. Yeah, super bosses just get 2 key. I mean, he's only giving key support on his domain, I guess, whereas Broly's giving actual stat support. So maybe you could see Broly being a little bit more of a support unit, but again, this link, not having it, is kind of an issue. I don't understand why only 1 Broly in the game has it, Broly, Chile, and Lemo, who's one of the better units on this game, and on this team. Look at this. They have it. Is it Lemo? Lemo is literally the only difference, because Chile doesn't have it, Chile doesn't have it, this kid doesn't have it. So Lemo. Lemo's the reason that Big Bad Bosses exist on this character. I don't know, it's just a little bit of a weird oddity. But I really do think that this is a good pickup on the team. But if we're looking at the rest of the banner, like, realistically, like, you were very good. I would say you are the next best character. You are the next best character. And then there is just a drop to Dyspo. And then there's another drop to you. I think you're better than you. And then there's another drop to... No. You're... Okay, so 1, 2, 3 drop. Then Dyspo. Then another drop. Then STR Vegito. Do I think you're really better than... I do, actually. Because you're a base 4... Losing your abilities... If you didn't lose your abilities mid-turn, that would be one thing. But you can be in the middle of turn and then go down to 30% damage reduction. 50% of the time, this kid's going to live. I don't know. You have potential. Okay. I'm being too harsh on these guys. I'm being too harsh on them. 1, 2, 3, slight drop, 4, slight drop, 5, and then major drop into you. And then I think it's another major drop to you, major drop to you, major drop to you, and then major drop to you. It's just, there's not a lot of value here. And I know that there's discounted summons right here for 3 rounds, perform 3 multis, get 1 free. And it looks like the first ones will be cheap, so it'll probably do the 30, 35, 45 free, and then 50, 50, 50 free, 50, 50, 50 free, and then after that, you're spending full, is what it looks like. There's no time to this, so I would actually encourage you guys not to summon on this banner, because I'm going to assume we're not going to see a lot of dodge nullifying bosses, and the rest of the banner does not have a lot of value. If you still have stones and you want to summon, I would encourage either saving for the Worldwide Download Celebration, which will bring in new metas, because every major celebration, it feels like, brings a new meta that will last for about 3 to 4 months. Like, we had the Gogeta, Cell Max, and Beast Gohan meta, where Beast Gohan was king. Now we have, like, the Goku and Frieza, where this guy will be king. And then whatever we get during Worldwide, I feel like it's going to be harder than everything that's come before, because we don't normally get easier fights. Like, the Legendary Frieza event is like an oddity for us to get, like, a content that's designed for newer players. Like, that's an oddity. We don't often get that. But they only push power further. So I don't really see this being a gimmick where you're going to need dodge nullifying. I mean, he is a huge pickup. He does do a lot of damage. But even at Rainbow status, he's one of these characters who, like, kind of struggles in the event that he was meant for, which is the Goku and Frieza. He struggles. He can't do the 10 million most of the time until after he does his supers, and then his crits can do it, but that's ultimately depending on where the boss's attacks are, because they could have all their attacks be in the first slot, then you could do your supers, and then he couldn't get any counters, and then he provides not a whole lot for the rest of that turn, except for buffing the rest of the rotation so that maybe they can cross the damage threshold. But, I mean, if I'm really looking at this and I'm saying that you want to get 3 units, maybe 4, and then the rest is not great. And, like, I'm saying you're not great in this current content. Like, yeah, you were good against, like, Kid Buu and stuff, but you can't do damage thresholds. And if damage thresholds are going to be, like, a new thing, because we saw that at the start of this year, and now we're seeing it again, and we saw it last year with Fusion Zamasu, I feel like that's an ability that's going to creep up way more often than dodge nullifying. Because before this year, the last dodge nullifying boss was, what? The first phase of Omega, I suppose? And then before that, it was Red Zone Broly? So, I mean, maybe we can see a dodge nullifying fight once a year, but it looks like every 6 months, at least, we're seeing one of these guys who you have to do enough damage to, and that's just power creeping out a lot of characters. Like, I would say most of the characters on this team, actually, can't cross that damage threshold to do the 10 million, unless they get a lucky crit. I mean, maybe this kid could with enough stacks, but again, you're not making it that far with him. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about the banner. I feel like if you're summoning exclusively for, like, one character. If you get this guy, you're going to be pretty happy. If you get this guy, you'll be, you know, pretty happy as well, because then that would be a huge buff, because Super Bosses on Global is going to be a joke. I mean, it was a joke on JP until Cell Max. It's the same thing here. It is going to be a joke until we get Cell Max, or maybe some other unit on the team, but until then, I do feel like this guy's probably going to be the best leader, even better than Broly. I mean, Broly does lead other categories like Transformation Boost and Full Power. I mean, Full Power is fine, but like Transformation Boost is the big one that you can run with, because like every character's on Transformation Boost. Full Power has some hitters, I suppose. I guess that's how you get the Beast Gohan on the category, but I don't know. Again, I would encourage not to summon, because you can either summon for Beast and get a copy of Beast, and then walk out the banner with him 55% and be happy, or you can say for Worldwide, because Worldwide, whatever it is, I feel sure should either be on the same level or better. So within, again, just think about it like that. Within 3 weeks, you could potentially get a unit that is as good or better than this one on a much better banner. Because this banner is not it. Would the other banner have been better? The other banner would have been way better. Significantly better. Like, if we're looking at this, like, I would say Goku Black is comfortably, like, far and away better than Frieza. Again, off the top of my head, this isn't, like, me actually thinking about it, but I think it goes Buu, then Vegeta, then Topo, then Roshi, then Rose, then Angel SSJ3, then Frieza, in terms of the DFE TURs that we've gotten this year. I mean, this unit's obviously here, but, like, I know why these guys weren't here, because they're on other banners. This guy's on Broly's banner, so I guess that makes sense why he's not there, and then these 3 units are just returning. So there were only 4 differences, but I feel like all 4 differences are pretty way worse. I would rather have these guys over Physical Buuhan. I would rather have both of you guys over, who are you in place of? Vegito and Trunks. Yeah, Vegito and Trunks being on here is such an odd choice. Like, an odd choice. I mean, you just suck, but you were expected. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think about the banner. Let me know if you're going to summon. If you do summon, I do wish you the best of luck. I don't encourage it, but I'm not going to say that you're a fool if you do, because this guy is certainly worth it. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 featured units, so even if you do get, like, a good animation, you got a 1 in 10. You have a 1 in 10 at greatness. You have a... So after that, you would then have a 2 in 9 of getting pretty good, and then like a 2 out of 7 to get like pretty okay, and then again it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And there's a chance you might not even get a featured unit because you only have these couple of discounts. Like, these aren't even really that great of discounts. I mean, this is probably better than what JP got. I don't know if there's tickets. I haven't even opened the game yet myself. Again, I'm recording this pretty much as soon as I saw that this got updated on the website. So, yeah, again, I wouldn't encourage it, but if you do, best of luck. Let me know how your summons go in the comments of this video. But yeah, that will be all for this time, guys. Oh, one more thing, actually. I'm going to be doing dual uploads for the next little while since I have my phone back. I have my phone back now. So there will be doing dual uploads of all the content that I missed out on so that I can get caught up, hopefully by Worldwide, and then after we get to Worldwide, I'll cut back down to doing just one upload a day. So it'll be 12:30 and 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm hoping that I can keep up that schedule and still stream as much as I want to. I hope. So also wish me luck with that. I am a very busy man. I do a lot of things. I'm always moving around the clock, but I do it for you guys because I appreciate the fuck out of you guys. So that will be all for this time, guys. I've been the Super27. I'm a variety Twitch streamer and an up-and-coming PNG tuber trying to make it big in the world. I have a Twitter, a Twitch, a TikTok, and a YouTube, the links of which can all be found in the description of this video. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share me around, and leave me a comment. Positive, negative, or indifferent. I would love just any sort of interaction I can get from you guys. But that is going to be all for now. So, as always, I've been the Super27, and I am signing off.